Good day to all. இன்னைக்கு வந்து நம்ம பார்க்க போகிற கான்செப்ட் என்னன்னா, it is limitations of an audit. Okay, what is a limitation? Limitation is a certain factor which is actually constraining you, or it is actually suppressing you from doing it, which means naturally you do really want to do something, but then you are not able to do it because there is some hurdle, okay, or because there is some suppression, or because there is a natural suppression, okay. That is why you are not able to do a particular activity. So when you really want to do it right, but you are not able to do because there is a problem, so this is called as limitation. Limitation is like when you want to jump up high, okay, and the ceiling is actually hitting you on your head, then it means that it is a limitation. Limitation is something which is putting you down, which is not favorable, or which is not actually helping you to achieve whatever you wanted to do, or whatever you want to do. It is not actually making you do whatever you want to do. So this is called as limitation. So when we are talking about audit, who is doing the audit? The auditor is performing the audit, okay. And then what do you mean by audit, or what actually audit means? Audit actually is all about getting a reasonable getting a reasonable satisfaction, okay, or you satisfy yourself that everything is, for example, audit is nothing but getting a reasonable assurance that all the financial statements, okay, are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. This is what we really want, right? In order to achieve this, or the objective of audit is just to give an opinion, okay, and to get a reasonable assurance that the financial statement as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. This is what I actually want to achieve. In order to achieve this, what are all the things that I can do? I really can perform the audit procedures, but despite me doing all the things that I am capable of, there are certain things that is actually limiting my ability to perform my audit. There are certain things that is actually limiting me from gaining that objective. What is that objective? Getting a reasonable assurance that the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. This is what I really want to achieve. But என்னால் அதை அச்சீவ் பண்ண முடியாமல் தடுக்கிறதுக்குன்னு there are certain things that is actually putting me down, or there are certain things that is actually putting off, okay. I'm not able to do it, okay. It is suppressing me. It is actually it is not actually helping me out, okay. Rather it is actually there is like a compression, or I'm not able to do it. Why? Because there are certain limitations, okay. This is called as inherent limitations to audit. What is inherent limitation? What do you mean by inherent? What do you mean by inherent? Inherent, Nana, it is like the problem is not from outside, it is from inside only, okay. It is from inside that you get the problem. That is called as inherent limitation. For example, I'm a dancer. I really want to dance, okay. If the stage is not perfect, then that problem is external to my performance, right? But if I'm not in the right mood to dance, then it is an inherent limitation to me. If I'm not able to control my mood swing, if I'm not able to keep my mood in the good spirit, then it is my problem, not the problem of the people, or it is not the problem of the person who is arranging for the arangetram, okay. It is my problem, which means if I'm a dancer, if I'm a performer, if I really have to perform and I'm not able to control my mood swing, it is my inherent problem. It is like a problem that nobody else can come and control. It is a problem that is very, very, very natural only to me, not to all the dancers. It is only to me. Just like that, when I am performing an audit, or when the audit is being performed, there are certain inherent limitations. It is not something external. It is not a problem that is coming from the outside environment. It is from the environment of the audit itself. It is from the environment of the auditor, and auditor and auditee. Auditor is a person who is performing the audit, and the company for which he is performing the audit is called they call this the auditee. So the auditee environment, or the auditor, or the entire audit process within which there are so many limitations. This is called as inherent limitation. Now here government is not putting some rule on you, or SEBI is not actually SEBI is not actually limiting your scope. Nobody who is external to your audit process is limiting your power. Who is limiting your power? The very existence of the auditee, the very existence of the auditor, the very existence of the entire audit assignment by itself is giving you or posing you some limitation, okay. There are primarily 3 limitations. நல்ல ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கோங்க. I have told you what is a limitation. Limitation is something that is not helping you to achieve an objective. That is called as a limitation. When it is called as an inherent limitation, it means that these limitations are inborn. It is an innate. It is like from within. It is not from outside. If you see, for example, if you are taking black color as your outfit, then black color has some peculiar and weird and certain sentiment with it, okay, and the way people perceive it, or maybe it absorbs a lot of sunlight, okay, it is not so reflective in color. There are so many things that is so reflective of black color, okay. So if you want to choose this black color, there is a set of things that comes with the black color. This is the inherent quality of black. You don't find these qualities with white or pink or red, but you find these peculiar characteristic features which is coming along with the black color, right? That is called as the inherent quality of a black color. If black color comes along with it, there comes certain qualities, other inherent. Okay, for example, if I am a short tempered guy, that short temperament, that is my inherent quality, inherent, which is coming from within. Just like that, what do you mean by inherent limitations of audit? When we talk about audit, if there is audit, there are supposed to be certain inherent limitations in the place of audit. So there are primarily three audit limitations. There are primarily three limitations. Point number one, it is all about the management. It is all about the nature of financial reporting framework. I've told you what is FRF. It is the financial reporting framework. Yes. So here in the first limitation, we are going to study some keywords. I'll tell you the keywords. Keyword number one, judgment. What is a judgment? For example, I've told you, you want to take up the straight line method or WTV methods. Here, management has to take a judgment. Management has to take a decision. Management has a choice, and it really has to take a decision, right? So there are so many places, or there are so many transactions, or there are so many assessment, okay, assessing places. For example, you want to really value the asset. You really want to do the revaluation of assets. In revaluing the asset, you really have there is an assessment procedure. I mean, like assessment procedure in the sense you're really assessing the value of the asset, and you have a choice to fix it at either 4,50,000 or 4,70,000. You take a choice. Okay, there is an option given for you. With the due respect, when you're talking about the company, or when you're talking about the management of the company, the management is taking certain judgments. They're taking a call, okay, they're taking a call whether to go through A method or B method. They're taking a call whether the valuation is 4,50,000 or 5 lakhs. Okay, so this judgment, okay, and there is an applicable financial reporting framework within this financial reporting framework. Okay, in this financial reporting framework, and there are certain facts and circumstances. Okay, there are certain facts and there are certain circumstances that was applicable, or that was in existence in the company last March, or last April, or last May, okay, and before 6 months, when this particular transaction happened, these were the facts and circumstances that were existing at that point of time. So in the light of, I mean, like in the light of, or given that's a facts and circumstances, judgment of the management was so and so. So there are so many things that auditor cannot hold control of. You cannot hold the control on the entire management, or the entire way through which the management has to take upon certain decisions, or certain calls, or certain judgments, or certain valuation of assets, or the valuation of liabilities. No, I cannot. As an auditor, I can only check whether the actions are appropriate or not. Okay, when there is a choice, the management can take choice A or choice B. It is their choice, right? I cannot, and I do not suppose to exert my power over them. So that you have to understand. And there are certain financial items, okay, that require some subjective decisions or assessment. As I've told you, there are certain assets. At the end of the day, closing stock, valuation of closing stock is a big deal by itself. And that big deal is carried upon like every year end. Who is taking that effort? Who is taking that effort of calculating the value of the closing stock? It is the management. So management has some financial statement items like assets or liabilities, and those assets and liabilities really require some valuation or assessment, okay, and some judgments or some decision making. And as an auditor, I can only see whether it is correct or not, whether it is appropriate or not. Okay, that is what I can do. And there is always a certain degree of uncertainty. Why there is a certain degree of uncertainty? Because there is a person who really who is our debtor. Okay, that debtor is bound to give us 1 crore rupees, and then he is the management is contacting him, is trying to contact him for the last 6 months. He's not available. Now, there is a degree of uncertainty whether he will be able to pay, or whether he will pay, or whether he has intentions to pay back to us or not. There are a lot of uncertainties. So, management has decided to write off 20% as a bad debt from that person who is not available at all for even to contact him. We are not able to contact him. So, in the light of certain facts and circumstances, managements were supposed to take up some decision or some assessment or some valuation, okay, or some some path they really have to take. So those decisions should be respected by auditor, and I cannot say which is perfectly right or perfectly wrong. I can only see whether it is appropriate for the given circumstances or not. Okay, and finally there is a range of acceptable solution. For example, there are 5 solutions. All the 5 solutions are legally okay. All the 5 solutions or all the 5 valuations or all the 5 courses of action are perfectly or legally okay da ellame. Which one does the management chooses அப்படிங்கிறது it is in the full power of management and not with me. Which means at the end of the day, the nature of the financial reporting framework, okay, the nature of the financial reporting framework and the nature of the assets and liabilities or the valuation, the facts and circumstances, okay, in the light of which the decisions were made and the judgments that have been decided, okay, these things are in the hands of management and not with the auditor. So the auditor or the power, okay, the power of audit or the auditor's power is always limited, because the nature of financial reporting framework and the judgments taken by management in the lights of facts and circumstances that were existing in that point of time, and then it is also about the financial statements, assets and liabilities and the valuations needed and the range of acceptable solutions available, and the solution that was taken and the solution that was decided on, or on the solution that was accepted or chosen by the management. Everything is with the control of the management and not with the auditor. So this is a natural or inherent limitation to the audit, because I as an auditor cannot interfere in these things. As a result, there is always a limitation to the achievement of the audit objective, which is to express a reasonable assurance that the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. This is the first limitation. Purida? The second limitation. Second limitation enna appadina, auditor says that when it comes to the achieving of the audit objective, there is always a limitation that is actually exposed by whom, or that is actually projected by whom, by the management. Now it is not about the way that they are doing the accounting, or that the way they are maintaining the books of accounts, or the way they are valuing an asset, liability, books of records. No, not in that. That is actually in the way of the way in which they communicate with the auditor, the way in which they respond to the auditor. How many responses can you get? Response number 1. Response number 1 see, these are all the practical and legal limitations. Okay, first one auditor is asking you for some documents, for some details, for some vouchers, for some receipts, okay, for some third party confirmation, okay, and the management or the people in the management, okay, or the senior officials, they are literally not helping you. They are literally not at all helping you. What will you do? Intentionally or unintentionally, they are not cooperating. When they are not cooperating with the audit procedure, what can you do? What can the auditor do? I am asking for the document, they are not giving. Either intentionally or unintentionally, they are not cooperating with me. So this is one thing that the management could do, which can directly influence the power of auditor, which means when I ask for something, they are not giving. Intentionally or unintentionally, they are not giving it. Okay, the management is not giving. Second, other than that, I am just discussing the second topic. Okay, the second point, the nature of audit procedure. the nature of audit procedure or the nature of the management, how they react with you or how they respond to you. Point number 1, you ask for something, they're not giving it to you, either intentional or unintentionally, they're not giving it to you. Number 2, intentionally they are scheming or organizing a fraudulent activity. Okay, so number 2 enna, they are involved in a fraudulent activity. Appo fraud enna eppadi irukum, it involves some sophisticated na you cannot easily reveal it. It is concealed in such a fashion that so many sophisticated acts and carefully organized schemes alla அப்படியே designate பண்ணி designed என்ன சொல்றது sophisticatingly, or how do you call it, is sophisticated and carefully organized or designed schemes இப்படி வச்சு உங்களை வந்து there is a defalcation or there is an embezzlement and they are really not ready to reveal all those things. They are concealing it on a very 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 sophisticated manner, or they are organize பண்ணி ஒரு விஷயத்தை செய்றாங்க அப்படினு சொல்லும்போது that is an intentional thing, that is a fraud. How can auditor do the audit procedure to find out the fraud? Because I'm not an investigator, right? And the third important point is the auditor cannot go and do the auditor as if I'm an investigator, because auditor is bound to express his opinion whether everything is true and fair, everything is out of material misstatement, there's no material misstatement. That is my opinion, or that is my objective. I'm not an investigator to find out what is wrong in the management, because that is not my objective. When it is investigation, like criminal investigation, okay, or some corporate investigation, investigator comes to your premises only on the prima facie suspicion. I have some suspicion, the management doesn't look diligent, there is no due diligence, okay, in the management, and that is why investigation is being taken care of, or that is why investigation is being started. So the 3 responses that the management gives to me: number 1, intentionally or unintentionally they are not cooperating with me, that is point number 1. Point number 2, intentionally sophisticated organized device பண்ணி அப்படியே design பண்ணி plan பண்ணி they are doing a crime, or they are concealing some main information from us. So அது வந்து fraudulent activity, அதையும் என்னால எதுவும் செய்ய முடியாது. Okay, it's not like when they conceal from me, it is not easy to reveal, right? During the normal audit procedures, it is not easy for me to reveal, so it is a limitation to me as an auditor. To my power, it is a limitation. Number 3 enna அப்படினா, I am out of my scope, because I'm not an investigator to investigate and to find what is wrong in the management. And prima facie I don't come into the auditing field க்கு நான் வரும்போது something is wrong with the management, something I really have something on to the management, and something seems fishy, it is not correct அப்படிங்கிற mindset oda I'm not coming into the audit field. I'm coming to the audit field to make sure everything looks fine, everything is great. Okay, if there is some deviations intentionally or unintentionally, I really have to find it out, that's all. Some intentional fraud, okay, some intentional schematic fraud I'm not in a power to find out, because I don't have the power of search. Because if an investigator is coming, for example CBI உள்ள வருதுனா, they have power, search warrant எல்லாம் வச்சிருப்பாங்க. Auditor cannot go and issue search warrant and all, because I don't have such power. So அப்போ ஆடிட்டரோட பவருமே லிமிட் ஆயிருக்கு அப்படிங்கிறது ரொம்ப இம்பார்ட்டண்ட்டாக நம்ம புரிஞ்சுக்கணும். Third important, see for example, நான் உங்களுக்கு சொல்லியிருக்கிறது என்னன்னா, லிமிடேஷன்ஸில் 3 important limitations. Point number 1, it is all about the financial reporting framework, wherein they are discussing about management power to take up some decisions, some judgments, some facts and circumstances இருக்கக்கூடியதை வச்சு they really have to make some evaluations or valuation of assets and liabilities, and then some assessment, okay, some decisions இதெல்லாம் அவங்க எடுக்கணும், அதில் I cannot interfere. So that is first limitation. Second limitation என்னன்னா, their response to me, number 1, intentional or unintentional cooperation, number 2, intentional, which is fraud, number 3, I'm not an investigator. இது 3. And third heading enna அப்படினா, the third important inherent limitation enna அப்படினா, there is always one thing, there is timeliness. I have to finish the audit in time. I cannot take all the year around to finish an audit, and then if I receive an external confirmation from the bank on January 1, I cannot use it for the next January, because I have to really obtain the information at a point and I have to use it within its expiry date. Expiry date na whichever is appropriate. For example, for certain confirmation I've received from the bank, the expiry date is only 3 or 4 days. It is valid only for 4 or 5 days. You can trust that information. For example, I'm calling up the bank. Okay, what is the bank balance? They are telling me it is 50 crore. Okay, and I'm confirming it. For how many days does it remain valid? For a week maybe. That's all. You cannot hold that responsible for the next 3 months and understand that okay, the bank balance is kept safe. Every information has some time validity. You have to obtain the information, and that obtained information is a reliable information only for a certain time period. Within the time period, you have to finish the audit. Only then the decision that you've taken upon some information which is reliable within the time frame. So, the timeliness of information is very important. And at certain points, to receive that information, it is very costly for you to receive that information, because the cost that you have to incur in order to get that information, or the time that has to be spent in order to get that information. Okay, and the difficulty that is involved in order to get that information from that third party might be very great. So, the time involved, the difficulty involved, the cost involved in getting an information, these might really limit the power of the auditor to do the audit. Okay, so these are all the important things. These are the 3 most important things. Number 1, nature of the financial reporting framework. Number 2, nature of the audit procedures. And nature of the audit procedure, I'm asking, as an audit procedure, I'm asking you for some document. You're not giving me, non-cooperative. Number 2, I'm checking, but I'm not able to reveal it because you are committing a fraud. You're schematically or you're sophisticatedly you're doing a fraud. You're organized crime madri. So you're doing it. I'm not able to do it with my audit procedure. Number 3, I'm not an investigator. Okay. And the third heading says that timeliness of the information is very important. If it is timely, it is reliable. If it is not timely, it is not reliable at all. And those reliable information, if you want to get, you really need to spend time, and there is a cost involved, and there is an effort involved. It might be easier to get information from certain category, and it might be difficult to get the information from certain third parties. Okay, so the difficulty in obtaining an information, the time that is incurred in order to get some information, and the cost that you are spending in order to get an information, everything put together in a bowl is very important to attain the objective of an audit. So these are all the things that acts as a These are all the things that acts as an inherent limitation to an audit. Finally, there are also certain other things which might seem to be very insignificant, but those insignificant areas, if properly utilized by the management, they can make a huge profit. Okay, so these four things that I'm going to discuss might seem very insignificant, but it might be of a huge consequence if taken advantage by the management at proper intensity. இல்ல ப்ராப்பரா இங்க அடிச்சா இது நகரும் அப்படினு தெரிஞ்சு கரெக்ட்டா. ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் I'll tell you one thing. Related party na another. For example, I'm the CEO and I have a daughter. Okay, she's not educated and she doesn't have that evlo skills venom. She doesn't possess any required skill or competence or education or something like that. She's not possessing anything. But then what I do is I hire her as some technical expert. She's not even rendering me any technical advice, but then I'm giving her 2 lakh every month, because under the name of giving some technical advice or technical expertise, I'm giving her 2 lakh every month. Okay, just because she's related to me. She's related to the CEO. She's related to the CFO or something like that. So when there is a related party transaction, auditor has to be very wary, has to be very careful whether under the circumstances, if a technical expertise or if a technical person is giving you some advice for that, what is the normal amount that can be paid? If it is only 70,000 and in reality they are paying 1 lakh because she's my daughter, I'm paying 1 lakh abdina, auditor has to find out the deviations or overwhelmingly paid amount. Idella avar paakanum. Appa related party transactions ought to be looked at with so much of significant importance கொடுக்கணும். பயங்கரமான இம்பார்ட்டன்ஸ் கொடுத்து இது பார்க்கணும். ரிலேட்டட் பார்ட்டி. ரெண்டாவது என்னது? ஃப்ராடு. சும்மா ஃப்ராட் இல்லைங்க. சிஎஃப்ஓ சிஇஓவே ஃப்ராட் பண்ணாங்கன்னா, அக்கௌண்டன்ட் ஒரு ஃப்ராட் பண்றாருன்னா ஓகே, ஐ கேன் ஃபைண்ட் இட். ஓகே, ஆர் சம் கிளர்க் ஆர் சம் செக்யூரிட்டி அண்ணா or the person who is the என்ன சொல்றது purchase departmentல இருக்கக்கூடிய vendor கிட்ட இருந்து வாங்கும்போது purchase departmentல இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு managing director, okay, or the manager is doing some work, I can handle. But what if the CEO does that? I cannot find it so easily, because the top management is involved in a collusion with that of the fraud. Fraud டாப்ல இருக்கவங்களும் மிடில் மேனேஜ்மெண்ட் சேர்ந்து கல்யூசிவா பண்ணா who will be able to find it out? என்னால முடியாதுடா ராசான் வந்துட வேண்டியதான். அந்த மாதிரி fraud with the help of top management, that is one. Might be fraud ரொம்ப சின்னதா insignificant தெரியலாம், but that has a very large consequence. Number 2, in the related party transaction, beware of the related party transaction. மூணாவது என்ன சொல்றாங்கன்னா non-compliance with the rules and regulations. Sometimes it may seem simple that okay, bonus has to be given at this ratio, this management has not given the bonus at the right percentage, it might seem simple, but behind those simple tokens, if you look at those tokens carefully, behind every non-compliance there might be some deviations from the regular aspect. Regular இப்படிதான் நடக்கணும்னா, when the management is deviating from the regularity, there might be some loophole, there might be something that the management is trying to hide. So whenever there is a non-compliance of rules and regulations, auditor has to put a double effort to find if everything is in proper diligent பண்றாங்களா இல்லையான்றத பார்க்கணும். And finally, okay va, auditor one of the limitations என்ன தெரியுமா, when I give my opinion as on 31/3/2022, I can only give an assurance that the company is doing well until 31/3/2022. okay va, in future what will happen to the company I cannot say. For example, 31/3/2022 everything seems to be fine, so I give reasonable assurance that the financial statement as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, na solita. On the May of 2022 or on the January of 2023, something has happened which is affecting the going concern of the management, that I can't do anything, man, because I am expressing an opinion on the past financial year order statement. I can only express my opinion on the past activities on the financial statement that is expressing the past, and I cannot give guarantee on the future. These are the limitations of an auditor. okay va, I have the notes for this. I'll show you the notes. Kindly, if you want, you can just put a pause in the YouTube video and you can really copy it. okay, I'll show you it. Yes, you can copy it. Inherent limitations of audit, you can really copy it. Basically there are 3 limitations. Again, I'm telling you 3. Nature of financial reporting framework, nature of audit procedures, okay, and then finally the nature of timeliness and all that. okay, 3. இதை தாண்டி other insignificant subject matters or assertions which might seem so small but it has a large consequence. 4 இருக்கு. Fraud with the top management, okay, fraud with top management, related party transaction, non-compliance with the laws and regulations and all that. அதுக்கப்புறம் finally என்ன சொன்னா, future பத்தி I cannot tell you anything. அதுதான். See, this is very important. Fraud involves sophisticated seems to be very intelligent அந்த மாதிரி, sophisticated and carefully organized schemes designed to conceal it. மறைக்கிறது, okay, designed to conceal it. Therefore, audit procedures used to gather may be ineffective. நம்ம எவ்வளவுதான் தோண்டினாலும் அவன் பார்த்து மறைச்சு வச்சிருந்தானா 3000 வருஷம் ஆனாலும் ஃபெரோவோட embalming structure கண்டே பிடிக்க முடியாது. So it's something like that. When they are concealing it, you cannot reveal it. You can reveal a thing when it is unintentionally done, or when it is in the normal course of action, you can reveal it easily. But then when it is hidden from your eyesight, from your plain eyesight, they are hiding it from you. எப்படி அதுவும் sophisticated and carefully designed schemes to conceal it. அப்படிலாம் பண்ணும்போது you really will not be able to reveal it. அதனால that is a natural limitation fee. And also நான் சொல்லியிருக்கேன் இந்த செகண்ட் பாயிண்ட்ல, that is nature of audit procedures, you have 3 schemes. ஒன்று என்னன்னா non cooperation. okay, இது வந்து wait a minute, it is non cooperation, fraud, அதுக்கப்புறம் no specific legal powers or investigator. I'm not an investigator. அதான் an audit is not an official investigation அப்படிங்கிறது. And then this is a separate question I'll explain to you. Difference between investigation and audit, it is a separate question. You can also copy it from this. And then this is timeliness of financial reporting. I've told you there are 3 things that is required to get some information. Difficulty, there is the effort that you have to take, and number 2, time involved, and number 3, cost involved. All these 3 things are needed to get an information, and that information is reliable only for a particular point of time. So that relevance and reliability and the timeliness, everything has to be put into a bowl and everything has to be balanced perfectly. And then finally, though it might seem insignificant, these are the 4 most important things that you have to take care of. Number 1, fraud involving the top management. Number 2, related party transaction. Number 3, it is about the non-compliance with the laws, rules and regulations. And number 4, it is the future events which may affect the going concern of the company, okay, of the establishment or of a company, okay. This is your limitations or inherent limitations of audit, okay. I hope you've understood. See, the very reason why we are going point by point or word by word or making a note of it and again showing you the notes, why do we do all these things? Audit is completely about the vocabulary. Audit is completely about the words through which it wants to express itself to us. That's it's very important in audit. So what is required of us? Audit we really need to succumb to those words, those terms, terminologies, those logical terms, those audit field terms, all these terms we really have to succumb to it. And the words succumb accommodate it will be easy for us to understand, assimilate, remember everything, okay. Without that devoting time to a subject, devotion of time to a subject is very, very, very essential. Or just 10-15 minutes, one video when you are preparing for your exam, or video, because I am doing 99%, I am being active here. Okay, I am the person who have read the entire theory. I have made it into small notes and I am repeating the words loud and clear for you to hear it repetitively. Because I am telling you, what is the objective of an audit? Objective of an audit is to get a reasonable assurance that the financial statement as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. Why am I repeating it? Because it has to be imprinted, engraved in your mind, so that when writing the exam, when you sit to write your exam, it should not feel so difficult at all. It has to come as a flow. Okay, it has to be spontaneous when you're writing an examination. It has to be spontaneous. You should not get stuck anywhere. Okay, thank you so much for listening to this session. This is all about the inherent limitations of audit. Okay, please do subscribe if you have not subscribed yet, and please do like, share with your friends, share with your colleagues, or share with the students who would really be in need of these sessions. Okay, thank you so much.